Okay, so welcome back. By now, you should have done the steps for getting the JDK installed on your machine. If you haven't, please go back and look at the previous lecture. Now, we're going to get you the tools to actually write some Java programs. There's actually two approaches I'd like to share with you for choosing a development tool. So let's talk about the first. If you're taking a class or learning the Java language for work, you probably already have some sort of editor or other software installed to create and run Java programs. A lot of my students use what's called an integrated development environment, or an IDE. What's an IDE? Here's a description from Technopedia. The link for this definition is right below. An integrated development environment is an application that facilitates application development. In general, an IDE is a graphical user interface or GUI-based workbench designed to aid a developer in building software applications with an integrated environment combined with all the required tools at hand. Most common features, such as debugging, version control, and data structure browsing, help a developer quickly execute actions without switching to other applications. Thus, it helps maximize productivity by providing similar user interfaces for related components and reduces the time taken to learn the language. An IDE supports single or multiple languages. So basically, an IDE is a tool specifically created to help you write computer programs. And as you can see from the definition, hopefully, it includes a lot of helpful features that can make your development life a lot more pleasant. If that sounds good to you, I'd like to suggest some possible IDEs you might want to check out. So a lot of computer science, AP computer science and college Java courses use an IDE called JGrasp. And I've also seen some students use BlueJ. These are some lightweight programs that don't take up a lot of installation space on your computer or system resources when they're running. On the other hand, in professional environments, the projects I've worked on usually use the Eclipse IDE or something based on it, like the IBM Rational Application Developer, or RAD, or the Spring Source Tool Suite. I took my first Java class using Eclipse, and at that time, it did take up more space and resources than some of the more lightweight tools, and I think that's true of several other IDEs as well. In addition, enterprise tools like RAD cost a lot of money. If you want to try Eclipse at some point, the experience could be a plus on a resume for projects that use an Eclipse-based IDE. But for beginners, I think something like JGrasp or BlueJ will be just fine. In addition to the links for the IDEs I just mentioned, I've also included at this last link here a link with some comparisons of popular IDEs if you'd like a closer look at your options. Okay, but to be honest, for smaller projects, I like to use a text editor to write my code, just a simple text editor, and then run it from the command prompt, or cmd.exe, in Windows. Notepad++ is my favorite text editor for coding, and if you're not using Windows, you should still be able to use the command line specific to your system. You can also use just plain Notepad if you're using Windows, or whatever built-in text editor comes with your system, but I really recommend giving Notepad++ a try. I've included the link for that in this slide. If you're using a Unix-based system or Mac at this time, I believe that Notepad++ is a Windows exclusive, but you might check out Vim or Atom at these links that I've also listed here. Atom should be available on Windows as well, I believe. There's a few reasons why I recommend this text editor and command prompt combo for beginners. The first is that this approach uses up a lot less space and system resources. A simple text editor won't be using up your CPE and slowing down your computer when you open the task manager to see what's running on your system. I also think that using an IDE for small, simple programs is often overkill. A lot of times when my students use IDEs, they have to create a whole Java project before they can even run a small program. Oops, let's go back a second there. Depending on the IDE, you probably don't have time to actually do all of that. or you might not have to do all of that, but it would take more time for me to get the student to screen share with me so that we could figure out how to just run a small bit of code outside of a project. IDEs do have helpful features, such as autocorrection and code completion suggestions. They also usually highlight potential errors, bugs, and typos as you're typing. These features are very useful, especially if you're in the workplace and looking for ways to develop more efficiently. However, I find that it becomes a crutch for new students. They rely on the IDE to fill in the blanks for them, which is a problem, especially when they take the AP exam or other tests that require them to write out code by hand on paper. So when you're in situations like that, you're not going to have the IDE to remind you of specific class or method names or to point out your mistakes. I sort of compare it to learning basic arithmetic. If you're taking a test on your multiplication tables, it doesn't help you if you learn using a calculator. But once you've mastered the basics, then you can use a calculator, and in fact, it will help you to focus on doing more complicated tasks. So that's my reasoning for using a text editor instead of an IDE. With that being said, let's look at how to use the command line to run programs. So if you have an IDE, you can usually run the Java program directly from the IDE. If you're using a text editor, you can use the command line. Either way, as we said, you'll need to have the JDK installed first. You'll also need to have a written Java program that you can run. If you don't have one yet, check the second link on this slide. It has a short program called Example Program. You can either download the code from that site, or you can open your editor or IDE and type in the program yourself. If you're using a text editor, create a new text or Java file. Once you've done that, save the file as exampleprogram.java. Make sure that the file extension is Java depending on your system. You may need to change your system settings to show the file extensions. If you created the file as a text file, make sure you change the extension from TXT to Java. In an IDE, you can just click whatever button runs the program, and you can check your specific IDE's documentations for instructions on how to do that. If you're using a text editor, open your command prompt. In Windows, you can go to the Start menu and run cmd.exe, or if you're using something else, you can use whatever shell or command prompt is on that system. So then you would type the first line you see here, Java C, which stands for Java compile, and then exampleprogram.java. And then to actually run the program, type java.exampleprogram. You should see the program run and some text output. I've included the two links on this slide to give you more detailed instructions that are specific to your system. Okay, so now that was kind of a mouthful as far as instructions. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you on my Windows computer how to do the steps that I just described for you. Okay, so let's go here. First of all, I'm talking about the command prompt. This is what it looks like on Windows. So you probably have something similar on your system, whatever you're using. And again, on Windows, just go to the Start menu and then type cmd.exe and press Enter. And something like this should pop up. Okay? So the folder that I'm in right now, I have a directory on my computer called Tutoring Demos. And so this is what that folder looks like. So I'm going to create a program. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to create a new program here. First, it's going to be a new text document. And you see here, I can see the file extension. Right now it's TXT because it's a text program, right? A text file. So I'm going to call it example program. And then I'm going to change this to Java. Okay? Yes, and then you might get a prompt that tells you that the file might become unusable if you change the extension. So go ahead and say yes if it asks you about that. Okay, so now I'm going to open example.java and Notepad++. Okay, so let me bring that up, make sure you guys can see that. Okay, there we go. So I'm in example program.java now. So we said that I told you about this link that has a program that's already ready-made. So we're going to be looking at that second link. Okay. Or the Oracle link here. Let me move some of this stuff out the way. I don't think you guys can see. Let's move that. Let's move the folder out the way, and let's move the command prompt out the way. Okay, yeah, so this is that Oracle link that I showed you. Okay, so if you click on, it goes through a lot of the steps we did with setting up the JDK and everything. So writing the program, okay, and I'm gonna, instead of typing all that out, I'm just gonna go ahead and copy it, and then go back to my Notepad window. Let's go ahead and paste that, okay? Paste that in and save it, all right? Good. So let's minimize that for now. We're done with that. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Let's hide this browser. And now let's go back to our command prompt, okay? So as you saw on the slide, the first thing that I told you to do is type Java C, and you can remember that because it's Java compile. And we'll explain what compiling means in a bit too. Now, you need to make sure that you're doing the exact name of the file, okay? Example program.java, okay? I do that and I press enter. It's taking a little second. It's going to do it. Okay, so once you get that command prompt back, where you can type again, that means that the program has compiled. And that means that your JDK has been set up correctly. And if you get errors, then you might not have your JDK set up correctly. So go back and look at the previous lecture, or send me a message if you need more help. Okay, and now the last thing we're going to do is just run it. So we do Java without the C this time, and we do example program. And this time you don't want to put that .java at the end, okay? We press enter, and now we got the text output. I'm a simple program. And that means that we successfully have our JDK set up, okay? That's how you run a Java program from the command line. We'll be doing this a lot more throughout the course. So let's go ahead and move on to the next lecture.